When was the last time you just ran into someone? Not a planned meeting, not a calendar invite, just ... You're out walking and a neighbor waves you over, and you end up talking for 20 minutes about nothing, and you go home feeling weirdly good. When was that? For a lot of Americans, they're struggling to remember. I used to think that was just modern life. People are busy, everyone's on their phones. It's just how things are now. But then I started looking into why, and what I found genuinely disturbed me, because it wasn't an accident. Picture a real, living, breathing neighborhood. Corner stores, people sitting on stoops, kids walking to school, a bar where everyone knows your name. These places existed all over America. And then, in 1956, the Federal Highway Act happened. The government basically told every city, we'll pay 90 cents of every dollar to run an interstate highway through your town. Cities said yes, obviously, it's free money. But those highways didn't go around neighborhoods. They went through them. Over 1 million Americans were pushed out of their homes. Not by war, not by fire, but by construction crews following a blueprint. In Rochester, New York, they knocked down nearly 1,300 homes and businesses to build a 2.7-mile highway loop. One neighborhood gone, and they didn't call it destruction. They called it urban renewal. They called it slum clearance. They made it sound like they were helping. What they actually cleared was community. The places where people ran into each other. The blocks where you knew your neighbors, not because you planned to, but because you couldn't avoid each other, gone. And then they sold everyone a replacement dream. The house with the lawn, the 2-car garage, the cul-de-sac. This is the American dream, they said. Not connection, not community, ownership, alone, private, separated. And we bought it completely. Here's the thing nobody tells you in school. In most American suburbs, it is literally against the law to build a coffee shop next to your house. No, seriously. Look up Euclidean zoning. It's a planning system that keeps everything separated. Homes here, shops there, offices somewhere else entirely. By law, these things cannot mix. I get the original logic, you don't want a factory next to a school. But we took it way further. We made it illegal to live near the places you'd actually want to go. A cafe, a bookstore, a little park, a bar where you might bump into your neighbor on a Tuesday night. There's this sociologist named Ray Oldenburg who studied what he called third places, not home, not work, but the in-between spaces where community actually happens. The corner bar, the barber shop, the public square. He watched them disappear, and he was pretty clear about why. You can't have a spontaneous conversation when every single trip requires getting into a car. Think about it. The whole magic of bumping into someone is that it's unplanned. You're just walking, they're just walking, and suddenly you're talking. You cannot do that at 60 miles per hour. The suburb killed that. Not culturally, legally, architecturally, on purpose. Now, I want to be real with you here. Pew Research asked Americans how many of their neighbors they actually know. In suburbs, 28% know all or most of them. So, about 7 in 10 suburban Americans are basically strangers to the people living 30 feet away. But here's the nuance. Cities aren't doing much better. Urban residents scored almost identically on loneliness indexes. So it's not like moving downtown fixes everything. What does seem to matter is walkability. Researchers in Austin followed people who moved into a walkable, mixed-use neighborhood and measured their social lives before and after. After the move, their sense of living in a close-knit community jumped by over a full point on a 5-point scale. They knew more people and had more friends nearby. A 2022 NIH study explained exactly why. When you walk through a neighborhood regularly, you see the same faces, you nod. You say hi. Eventually you talk. Eventually those people become part of your life. It's so simple it sounds stupid. But we built a country where most people can't do it. The design of your street, not your personality, not how introverted you are, shapes whether you have a social life. That hit me hard. The average American spends 235 hours a year just commuting. In 2024, we lost 63 hours to traffic alone. That's almost 8 full workdays just sitting there. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what that monotony does to your brain. Environmental psychology research is clear. Humans need visual richness, variety, surprise. Walking down a street with interesting details and different buildings, your brain lights up. You feel engaged, alive. But driving through identical subdivisions every single day, your brain goes flat. Researchers measure it: more boredom, more stress, less sense that life is interesting. Robert Putnam, who wrote Bowling Alone, made a point that stuck with me. Sprawl doesn't just inconvenience you. It erodes the accidental interactions that make you feel like part of something. The wave from across the street, the neighbor who notices when your lights have been off for 3 days. Most suburban Americans just don't have those. And they blame themselves for being lonely, when the street itself made it structurally impossible. Look, I'm not here to tell you to sell your house and move. I'm not here to make you feel bad about where you live. I am here because I think a lot of people are walking around feeling like something is wrong with them, when the thing that's actually wrong is the world built around them. The loneliness isn't a character flaw. The boredom isn't ingratitude. That feeling that life should have more casual warmth to it, that's not being unrealistic. That's being human. And once you see how deliberately this was all designed, highways, the zoning laws, the marketing of the isolated dream home, you start asking different questions. Not, what's wrong with me? But who built this and why? That's the question this channel exists to answer. If this made something click, share it with someone who's been feeling it too. Subscribe, we're just getting started.